Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year once again. We have Jet off-season propaganda brought to you by charts, baby. Every offseason, we have some sort of chart that tells you that the Jets have won the offseason. Now, this one, I think, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of charts that are going to tell us that the Jets have an amazing roster or are going to be a great team. But I do think you could make the case that the Jets, when it's all said and done, after free agency, after they make four draft picks in the top 45 and a few more mid round day three selections, I think you might be able to make a compelling case that the Jets are one of the most improved teams in the NFL. And at the very least, we're going to take a look at their depth chart on our lads in a second. At the very least, they are one of the most different teams. They're going to have a very significant amount of roster turnover. This is a projection of plus minus improvements based on offseason roster value so far. So the Jets are second, right there with the Cleveland Browns. Also, we have PFF, who ranked the Jets first after free agency in terms of wins over replacement, giving them 1.99 there first in the NFL. So a couple of different outlets saying after free agency, hey, Jets most improved team. My guy Marcus Whitman, that franchise guy, I think he has one of the best like independent just podcast bro football content there is. He also gave the Jets the highest grade for their free agency. Now, let's take a look at their depth chart because it's pretty jarring when you see, well, first of all, my face that close. We don't want to see that. The amount of changes that they've made. The turnover on defense is pretty crazy. So if we look at their RLADS chart, and there it is. So the names that you see that are that light orange color, those are names that are new additions to the Jets. So you look right away in terms of projected starters. Now, Aaron Glenn didn't make this. Our lads did, but projected starters: Sweat, new starter; Anyamata, new starter; Demario Davis, new starter; Asai, new starter. They pencil in Deshaun Wright as a starter at corner, and then Minka Fitzpatrick. So that's one, two, three, four, five, six new starters. And then, of course, Kingsley is going to get, a significant amount of work. Dane Belton could be competing for a starting spot. Obviously, if they draft a defensive player at two, that's going to be a new starter. So if you look at the top, like 12 players on their defense, if you want to look at it that way, you're probably looking at 8 or 9 new faces. Where the guys coming back, it's what? Briggs, McDonald, Jamie and Sherwood, right? This kind of reminds me of what we saw with Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbricht's defense between the 2021 and 2022 season, where they had like 7 new starters, right? This is what you needed to see. Maybe they didn't get the names that you wanted, but particularly on defense, the Jets had to roll out like 50, 60% turnover on their defense. They had to. It was so untalented. Offensively, it's really so much of it is tethered to your quarterback. Um, I know the Jets haven't had great weapons, but again, wide receiver two is like a ceiling raising thing. Once you have an offensive line that could pass protect, a quarterback, a play caller, a run game, a wide receiver one, then we can get to wide receiver two. That's why last year it's like, oh my God, we have no wide receiver two. It's like, bro, Justin Fields is our quarterback. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Arian Smith could be the Bills wide receiver too. They'd still make the playoffs. But defensively, because offensively, you do have your 3 building blocks in your offensive line, a couple of their mid offensive linemen. You have a wide receiver one. You have a running back one. You have what you hope to be at least I'd say mid tight end one in Mason Taylor. Last year, offensively, it was like you had trouble quarterback. You had a rookie OC that got fired. And then, Garrett Wilson got injured, and that's kind of the story of it. Defensively, it was really a story of, oh my goodness, once you traded Quinnen and Sauce, it was probably the least talented defense in the NFL. Right? So lots of new faces and floor raising players to where, yeah, man, if Aaron Glenn, he's got to go ahead and get this defense to an average unit this year, especially if they're going to spend, like, let's say two of these top, the number 2 pick is on defense, and let's say pick 44 is on defense, right? Maybe they take like Reese seems to be the pick. And then let's say they go receiver at 16, and then maybe, I don't know, a safety at 33, and then like a guard or something at 44, right? So you're getting a number 2 overall pick, and then probably one more top 45 pick on defense. In addition to trading for a starter in Sweat, trading for a starter in Fitzpatrick, and then signing like 4 dudes who are making $10 million to come in here and start for you. And then some mid-level signings like Belton and Deshaun Wright. I'd wager if we actually tallied it up after the draft, the Jets probably had poured the most amount of resources into overhauling their defense as much as any team. So we have the charts. The Jets are going to be a vastly different team next year, if nothing else. I think the problem with, well, you could look at it a couple different ways. I think that the issue here is there's a world where the Jets are maybe the most improved team in the NFL, but they still don't win a lot of games because, man, like even if they cut their point differential, if they add like plus 125 to their point differential, right? And they drastically increase their DVOA, and they go from 0 picks to like 10 or a dozen picks. Still, you're probably not quite looking at a good team yet. So my mind is you got to see drastic improvement. You have to have the arrow going in the next direction. And I'm gonna just walk into the season with an open mind with Glenn and Moogs. You know, there's definitely points at the end of last year where I'm like, holy God, get everyone out of here, salt the earth, sage the ground, start over, double tank this, simulate the season, get to 2027. And I thought that's the offseason that they might have had. The part of me was thinking, is Woody just going to keep the purse strings tight? Like you can tell certain years how teams operate. Certain years you could tell the owner has said the checkbook is closed. Look at Minnesota. They're like, we're not spending money this year. It is what it is. But that wasn't really the Jets offseason. They didn't spend like drunken sailors, but Woody Johnson clearly said, hey man, you can sign as many one year, 10, $12 million contracts as you want. You got 4 high picks, and let's see where we're at in 2027. So you want to see drastic improvement, or like literally the number 1 pick. And they're not going to be bad enough to get the number 1 pick. How they didn't get the number 1 pick last year. They didn't get the number 1 pick last year. They played Brady Cook and a linebacker named Wojak. That was the chance. That was the chance. I mean, to do it. That was the strike when the iron is hot. If you're part of the tanking team, like they're just not going to try to lose. So it is what it is. You hope to see improvement. And my timeline for this team, it's a slow one, but let's be honest. If I would have told you this at the start of the drought, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's way too long. It shouldn't take that long to be good. And now we're here like 16, 17 years later. I remember being like a freshman in high school when the Rex Ryan was coaching the team. So it's been a minute. So here's what I'm looking at with this retool, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. This year, look like a normal team. Normal team. You can win like 2 division games. Maybe you win 7 games. That second year season with Salah, where it's like, wow, this is dramatically improved. You actually had a couple games where you won some good games. They went into Green Bay. They beat the Packers. They beat the Bills at home. Right? You have a couple of, I don't want to say signature wins because 7-win teams don't have signature wins, but like real wins. Because last year they beat like Dylan Gabriel. I mean, come on. They beat the corpse of Joe Flacco. And they beat Kirk Cousins. So they didn't get a win. They didn't have any wins last year against really legitimate starting NFL quarterbacks. So you got to peel off a couple of those. And then you're probably drafting your quarterback in 2027. Now that's a rookie QB. So there's obviously some limitations there. Maybe you win 8 or 9 games that year. And then the following year, it's the rookie QB second year, and you're in the playoffs. That would be the optimistic view to me. Now, obviously, if you're just really good, if you have excellent coaching, if your rookie QB pops earlier, we've seen teams do it quicker than that. We've seen teams go from 3 wins to the playoffs. Of course, it's possible. Of course, you want that. But I'm saying that would be like the if you're erring on the complete side of patience, that would be the track record. Because if they win 4 games this year, I think you gotta pack it up, right? So let's not do that. I also think that again, the willingness to separate the um the willingness to try and separate Glenn from Moogs seems very forced. I think the Moogs love is honestly just like a lot of people really dislike Aaron Glenn, and that's fine. Like you don't have to like the head coach of your favorite football team. He might end up being bad. It might age to be like, yeah, they should have fired him and made the change earlier. It may age to be that. I have no "Oh Captain, my Captain" speech in defense of Aaron Glenn. But I do think the forcing this divide of like, oh, Moogs is doing awesome. He's doing great, but Aaron Glenn better watch his back because Moogs is cooking and AG stinks. Look, man, the reason why we like Moogs better than Glenn right now, and I will say this, I think the Jets roster moves to this point since Glenn and Moogs have been employed. Their roster moves has been better than what their coaching has been so far. Now, obviously, Aaron Glenn has probably had some hand in some of the roster moves. Like it's hard to peel through which is a Glenn move, which is a Muji move. I get that, but the reason why the GM is always more popular than the head coach, the reason why Joe Douglas was always more popular than Robert Saleh is because the GM, it's the team that we imagine in our minds. Of course, it's great. Darren Mushi gets to be the GM of the team we are imagining in our minds. Like when we traded for a 40-year-old quarterback, hired with him the worst offensive coordinator in NFL history, gave out the worst receiver contract this team has ever seen, peeled guys like Dalvin Cook, Tyron Smith, Hassan Reddick, Mike Williams, were good functioning organizations, dumped them right at the moment they could come be quasi-retired with the Jets, that was going to be a Super Bowl contender. I'm as guilty of it as anyone, right? Even last year, I think I predicted the Jets are going to win 6 or 7 games. Even that was a massive overestimation of their ability. So as fans, we're always going to see the GM in a better light because, of course, every offseason move is great. Every draft pick is awesome. But the coach has the unfortunate job of actually doing it on Sunday. So to me, I think the separate, like, oh, the process, but the roster, but on paper, but look at this ranking of this. Dude, if Darren Muji has to pick players who play good and that playing good results in wins, that's it. So we have no idea if he's good. Darren Muji has been the GM of one team that has been fielded, and that team was a triple pack of ass. Same as Aaron Glenn's. So to me, they're really on the same footing right now until we see a team that is good. Right? Like you could see like the Eagles, like, okay, clearly that's a really well put together team. And the roster is maybe elevating the coach and their quarterback. But yeah, guys who are actually playing good. Like these guys are making all pros. Look at the stats they're all putting up. It's real. With Moogie right now, it's all in our mind. And the Jets team in our mind is always amazing. That's why we like the GM better than the head coach. Because the GM makes the team that we imagine, and the head coach coaches real life. I remember last year was like, we got Stone Smart, bro. We got Tyler Johnson. And it's like, and then Aaron Glenn has to actually coach them. And it's like, oh, Stone Smart and Tyler Johnson aren't real people. Right? Offseason champs again. Yes. We've done it. How many years in a row? Although we were not offseason champs last year. We were offseason champs 2022, 2023. Then we took a year off last year, but now we're right back. Offseason champs again. It feels good. I am excited. It will fade quickly. Like if they draw the Titans week 1 and Robert Saleh beats them by like 3 touchdowns, I'm like, okay, it's over. Right? But if they win, we are so back. They have to get off to a decent start. They really do. Like this team can't start 1-3. It's going to spiral. It's gonna spiral. That's why that Xavier Gibson fumble against the Steelers set the team back like another 24 years. We knew it in real time. Like the Jets, they have to get them this monkey off their back of winning, and until then, there it just feels you could feel that aura of like negativity when something bad happens. So they have to get off to a good start. They have to get off to a good start. By a good start, I mean like man, like 3-4, 3-4 will be fine. Like look at the schedule. I would love for them to start 3-4. Sad as it sounds, you got to walk before you can run. And maybe we got to start crawling first. Such a pessimist? No, man. I'm not a pessimist at all. See, we gotta discuss the team. Understand like the season is gonna be here. So if I'm saying that Moog's cooked up an 11-12 win team, and Aaron Glenn goes out there and wins 7 games and is a massively improved team, I'm not killing Aaron Glenn for that, right? Because it's a two-way street. We can't sit here and say, "Oh my God, this is a masterclass. Look at this perfect roster," and then Aaron Glenn goes out there and they're a mid team. It's like, okay, did Aaron Glenn ruin a perfect roster? No, he did fine. So it's not about what's positive or what's negative. It's about what's real and what's fair and reasonable to expect, right? Because there are people last year who said that should be a playoff team. Fields is going to explode, be amazing. Anyone who's saying other than that is being negative, and then they start 0-7, and it's like, well, you can't blame Aaron Glenn. This team was trash. It's like, okay. Well, then let's just be honest about it 4 or 5 months before that, because the season's going to come anyway. So we could be real about the team. Um, yeah, 20. It set the team back 24 years. I'm telling you. You know who I think will be a lot worse than last year? The Bills. Uh, I think if there's a regression due, I mean, well, if the Patriots do trade for AJ Brown and they get Alec Pierce and AJ Brown, I do think that like that's a really good shot in the arm in terms of receiver talent. But the Patriots may be a bit of a regression, like they'll still make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll find themselves in the Super Bowl. Like the schedule stuff was pretty crazy. Obviously, they were still a good team. They still would have made the playoffs of the regular schedule, but they had historic schedule luck. And then even their playoff run, it's like, dude, like Bo Nix is injured. CJ Stroud turns into a pumpkin. So I think if there was a team due for regression, it would be the Patriots. But obviously, if they get AJ Brown, then that would probably negate that. The Bills, I don't know, man. We'll see how they do with Brady as the head coach, but I'm waiting for a Bills fall off for a long time. But we just have to be honest. Like Josh Allen is going to give them a floor by himself. Josh Allen every year he scores 40 touchdowns, and every year they have him, they have a top 10 offense. So until they don't have, as long as they have a competent offensive line in Josh Allen, the Bills are going to be an 11-win team minimum. It just kind of is what it is as long as he's in his prime. The Patriots, we'll see. The Dolphins are going to be terrible. The Dolphins are going to be worse than the Jets, I would imagine. Like the Dolphins might, well, we'll see with Willis, but they don't have a very good offensive line, and now they have no receivers. Like it's Devon A-Chain, and it's other than that, it's terrible offensive personnel from Malik Willis. So the Jets should be better than the Dolphins. They have a rookie head coach as well. Yeah, Patriots have a window. Yeah, that's why I think that's why you can stomach overpaying Alec Pierce when you have a quarterback that was whatever he was third in MVP voting, Drake May, right? But he's making like negligible quarterback money, right? And he's not going to even if they extend him, they know Drake May is not going to have a high cap hit until like 2030 or whatever. So yeah, you strike while the iron's hot. Couldn't agree more. Results 1 year, F minus Glenn, D minus Mooks. I think, yeah, I don't think I'll say this. I think it is fair that Moogs gets only one letter grade higher than Glenn. I think we are, and the reason I'm not even trying to be negative on Moogs, I just learned from how high I was on Joe Douglas by rosters that did not play yet. So I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, if his teams went like 30 and 1,506, then he couldn't have been um, very good. Yes, Romeo Dobbs. That's what I meant. The Patriots don't have Alec Pierce. They have Romeo Dobbs, who they paid a lot of money to. No, Pierce is back in Indy. The Patriots. I meant Romeo Dobbs, and they might be trading for AJ Brown as well. So if they have Dobbs and Brown, and then Booty's their three, that's pretty good. Uh, Great Alien likes McCoy at 16 if we were getting Jeremiah Smith next year. Well, I mean, there's a world that they take a wide receiver at 33, right? I honestly would be very surprised if they don't take a receiver at 16 or 33. Like, I don't even think they will wait to 44. I think they'll take a receiver at pick 16 or 33. Um, I think you could argue that 33 might be better value depending on how you feel about Omar Cooper Jr. But look, it's one of those things where I'm not going to be freaking out if they take a corner at 16 if that's who they like. If they look at Jermon McCoy, I don't like, all things being equal, I don't want a corner in the first round. All things being equal, I don't want a guard in the first round. Like, all things being equal, I think receiver would be my preference at 16. But all things might not be equal. If they think Jamal McCoy is like the sixth best player on their board, and the top three receivers are gone, and Omar Cooper Jr. is the 22nd receiver on their board, dude, then you take McCoy. Now you would like I guess, a veteran signing in the receiver room to make it feel like it's not emergency level, because if they wait until like round 4 to take a receiver, it's like, all right, then the receiver room it's hard to say with AD Mitchell, because I think he has the talent to be a wide receiver too, but if you look at all the times that we have kind of penciled someone in and said, "Oh, they're fine at a spot," how often, where it's like questionable or they're unproven, how often is that actually true, right? So I love AD Mitchell as the 3. Or even if it's like, you take a receiver at 44, at the latest, I think is the latest you should take one, and Mitchell pops and he's your 2, and then you took Jeremy Bernard at 44 and he's your 3, and it's like, yeah, that was a little, or they're like 2 and 2A, whatever. Like, you need another starting receiver, because even if AD Mitchell is your 2, Isaiah Williams is only rostered because of his return ability. Arian Smith is probably only on the roster because he was a 4th round draft pick. So really, all things being equal, the Jets have like fringe practice squad level receiver talent after AD Mitchell. So they got to get a body in there, or probably 2. Yeah, Dolphins are going to be terrible. Legitimately terrible. How can it be F- when Harrison Phillips already told us the toxic crap AG had to take over? Some of you people like Asman and Crybabies are perfect examples of the toxic crap. Look, man, the Jets were a very bad team last year. There's no evidence that you could point to outside of Chris Badger that they were well coached. The point is, he's getting a second year. So we'll see. Like, we don't got to pretend that last year didn't happen. It was obviously very bad. There's nothing toxic in saying that, no more than it's toxic to say that it's cold in Buffalo, New York in January. Like, it just is what it is. Now, if you take that and, like, I don't know, you let it ruin your day, or you you tell everyone you see on the street corner that Aaron Glenn needs to be fired, like, sure, I could see how you could cross the line into toxicity. But we can acknowledge what it was and move on and hope that it's better. Now, F minus, maybe, is that a little bit of an exaggeration given the roster talent? Sure. Was it a good grade in year 1? No, it wasn't. And I think that Harrison Phillips respects Aaron Glenn, but that is in no way means that he will be a successful, like, doing the actual job of being a head coach, because people respected Robert Saleh. At the end of the day, like, they're going to say nice things about you as long as you're not a psychopath like Adam Gase or Urban Meyer. Like, as long as you're a normal guy, like, it's natural for players to respect their head coach. I have no doubt in the sincerity of that statement from Harrison Smith. I'm sure he respects Aaron Glenn. I'm sure the players do. I'm sure his peers do. But last year the team was not well coached, right? So hopefully they can do better this year. That's why that and Aaron, you know who knows that? Aaron Glenn. That's why he fired half of his staff, bro. Like if if the team's coaching got a passing grade last year, why are they not back? You know, if the coaching deserved a positive grade last year, then Tanner Anderson should be back and Steve Wilkes should be back and the other 12 assistants should be back. So obviously Aaron Glenn knew they were not a well coached team, which is why he decided to make those changes, right? Just draft a project QB with the pick you would trade for Levis, flushing the pick down the toilet either way. I agree. I do agree with the last part that the most likely outcome of trading a late pick for Will Levis or drafting a dart throw QB is probably that the pick amounts to nothing. Although to be fair, if you take like a linebacker or a corner in the 6th round, it most likely amounts to not much anyway, too, just the nature of the draft. Well, there's two ways to look at it because I think if you trade for I think if you're willing to give up like a 6th round pick for Levis and whatever his contract left is, I'm sure it's not much. I think you should have him be your QB2, where then it kind of kills two birds for you because you need a backup quarterback. Bailey Zapp is a veteran minimum contract. I don't even know what his guarantees are, but it's probably like, 100K or something where he could be cut. So Bailey Zapp is not necessarily locked to make the team. I don't know if I don't think he factors into this. I think they'll add another veteran. But what Will Levis gives you is like, okay, he has started 20 NFL games. It's insane to say it, but if you look at his stats, they're slightly less terrible than I thought. Like I thought they would be Tim Boyle level bad. They're Zach Wilson level bad. They're not. Like I don't know if you played Carson Wentz and Will Levis under the same circumstances in the year 2026, would your win-loss total be that much different? Not really. So he could be your QB2 who's got experience, who you don't mind playing him, right? Because if you draft, I don't know, what's the kid out of North Dakota State? Cole Payton or whatever. Is that him? Taylor Green, whoever you like, you're not going to play that guy as a rookie, right? So you're getting, at least if you give up the pick for Levis, you're getting an immediate player who's a contributor for you as a QB2. Now, obviously, the downside of that is you don't get the whole rookie contract. So maybe he's here for a cup of coffee, he leaves, and you're out a 6th round pick. It's the same either way. I'd rather do it for Levis. I'd rather just do Levis, and like there's maybe a 5% chance that he has a resurgence with the Jets, whereas Dart Throw Davidson has like a 3% chance, 2% chance. So I'd probably rather do Levis, but you are right that most likely you're not going to get much out of that. Yeah, if Cooper makes it to 33, that's a smash pick. Don't get why we seemingly ignore a receiver in free agency. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they definitely priorities were defense, which is again funny that it's like now it's all Moogie, which I really don't care. Like if it is okay, fine. Like if Woody Johnson secretly had a Game of Thrones style meeting and he was like, Darren, you are now knighted, and Aaron, you're now, secretly demoted. Okay, like whatever. But it was a heavily defensive free agency, right? So you have a defensive-minded head coach, so I'm going to guess that impacted that to some extent. Now, I'm glad what they couldn't do, and they couldn't enter the draft with emergency acute needs at guard and receiver. They had to pick one. I'm like, before they signed Parham, I'm like, you got to call up a guard, you got to, or Jawan Jennings, you got to get one of these guys. They got one. Now, I do understand their predicament at receiver though to an extent, to be honest. Now, what I wish they did was like one of these Calvin Austin, or there was another guy who just signed, I think with the Giants. There was a couple of guys who have some starting experience who went for like $4 or $5 million. That's honestly what they needed to do because they're in a tricky spot where they're like, okay, we have AD Mitchell, who we kind of like I think they're pretty high on him, to be honest. I think that the staff is I think Will McDonald and AD Mitchell are two players that we may be on the fence about that they're really counting on to be contributors this year. They have AD Mitchell, who they kind of like as a three, maybe a two if things go well. And they're like, you know what? We're probably going to spend either 16 or 33, which a mid round or basically an end of first round draft pick on receiver. So if we go ahead and sign Darnell Mooney for 12 million bucks a year, and then we draft, Omar Cooper Jr. at 33 to be our two, and then we really like AD Mitchell. Now it's like we paid a wide receiver for 10 million. So it looks like the wide receiver room is so barren right now, but you can kind of see how they're like trying to hedge their bets a little bit. I think they still might. I think what the room really needed was like, was it one of the, yeah, I think maybe Calvin Austin, a guy who's had like a 500-yard season, um, who could start for you. And it's like, they've been a wide receiver three. Um, that's kind of what they could use. I don't mind that they didn't go ahead and get and throw the bag at Wando Robinson or Romeo Dobbs. I really didn't mind that they sat out the expensive wide receiver market, because you're gonna draft one high. Now, if they don't draft one until the fourth round, then obviously that changes things. But I'll see what the wide receiver room looks like after, we'll see after round 2 of the draft. It should look a lot better. I mean, all of a sudden it could be a strength. Like if you take Mekhi Lemon at 16 and Garrett and Lemon are your 1-2 punch, and then AD Mitchell is your 3, all of a sudden you have the best receiver room in the division, just like that. Right? I wouldn't think that's an exaggeration. I mean, is Garrett Wilson and Mekhi Lemon and AD Mitchell, is that better than DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir and like Brandon Cooks or whatever? I'd say so. Is it better than Booty and Dobbs? Yeah. Now, if they don't take one until round 5, and then it's like, okay, Arian Smith is our 3 and AD Mitchell's our 2, then obviously that's like now you have the third best receiver room in the division, right? So there's a lot of variation, depends on how those picks go. AD is one of the top in the league in separation stats. AD Mitchell's a chart. He's a chart god for sure. So we'll see if he could put it together. It's like consistently. Obviously, the talent is there. Like AD Mitchell moves. There's few players who have his combination of like size and speed, but he's actually like a functional athlete. He's not like a Denzel Mims like track guy. He's like a functional athlete. Like you could see why he was drafted high. And I think Geno Smith at least meets the threshold of quarterback where like you could find out if AD Mitchell can play. Because Geno's biggest thing is turnovers. So if Geno Smith, even if he throws 15, 16 picks, like, yeah, that's going to be bad. This going to be a reason why that you're not maybe winning a lot of games. He'll be able to feed Garrett Wilson and AD Mitchell, though, if you keep him clean. He can at least do that. Yeah, I misspoke. It's Romeo Dobbs that the Patriots signed, not um Pierce. Jet Life Podcast says hit the like. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Will Levis is Vanilla Fields. He's creatine Zach Wilson. It's like if Zach Wilson uh was not born into wealth in Provo, Utah, but instead was just like a meathead, that'd be Will Levis. Cole Payton and Luke Altmaier, brother. I have not. I have no idea. I have no idea if those guys are good. The only quarterbacks I've gotten into is, well, we know Mendoza, but Simpson, Nussmeier, and Aller. Beyond that, if they want to take one of those guys in the 5th round, will I hold it against them? Not really. Because once you get past like pick 175, then you're kind of in dart throw territory. I even think like that early 4th round pick that's like right around pick 100, that should still be a guy you still be looking for a starter there. But once you get to like whatever pick 178, it's like, okay, if you want to take one. Corley versus Arian Smith. Oh man. Um, yeah, if you asked me to pick one, I don't know if I could. I don't know. Trade for Anthony Richardson. Uh, that I know he's not the same player as Fields, but that does seem. I guess if you're down to take Levis, then you're down to do Richardson. It's all kind of it's all kind of the same, but um, yeah, Richardson had a hard time staying healthy too. But you're talking about like what 6th or 7th round pick. I think Richardson. We'll see, man. We'll see. I still can't believe Daniel Jones got that much money off of an Achilles. If I was the Colts, I probably would have just stuck Richardson out there again. Like, okay, we'll just give this one more shot, and if he bottoms out, we'll get a high pick. But giving that kind of money to Daniel Jones when he's already had an ACL tear and then an Achilles tear, and even still at his best, like he still is Daniel Jones. I know he was playing well in the beginning of the year, but man, that's just wild. Yeah, QB2 Tyrod Taylor. Mm, yeah, because Wentz got signed, which I'm not really like. Wentz and Anzalone were the two guys who were constantly mocked to the Jets. That once they weren't Jets, I really did not care at all. Like Alex Anzalone signs to the Buccaneers, I'm like, I lose no sleep. I don't like. I don't think he's that good. I think Davis is better now. Demario Davis is older, so we'll see the second year. Like the second year of Davis's contract, you might be like, all right, he's kind of washed now, but at least they get his run defense. Like I think Demario Davis will still bring it. His run defense. Now his pass defense is probably a limiting factor in terms of why Demario Davis is no longer going to be like a second team All Pro kind of linebacker like he's been pretty recently. But Demario Davis' run defense is still really, really good, really good. And we just had such a lack of power at linebacker last year between Quincy and Sherwood. They need somebody. They need a thumper like Demario Davis. Yeah, I also think wide receiver free agents, like if you're again at the beginning wave of free agency, the Jets didn't even have Geno Smith yet. So at the beginning wave of free agency, the Jets rostered Justin Fields, who everyone knew was going to be off the Jets, and Bailey Zapp. So yeah, you're going to want to go to other spots because wide receiver is like you're the most dependent on other stuff to get your production, right? So the Jets would have had to pay a tax. Like, did I want them to what pay Alec Pierce 33 million to come here instead of like the 29 million he got in Indy? I wasn't really itching for them to do that. So go ahead and get it in the draft. Trading up to get Lemon or Tate after Reese would be the best case in my opinion. Secure wide receiver 2 and stop crossing fingers on wide receivers in late rounds. Well, here's the thing. I had a long conversation with somebody about this on Twitter. Very respectful. I won't call it an argument, maybe a debate. But this gentleman was like, he said that you have to take a receiver at 16. I'm like, that's my preference, but if they take one at 33, like that's also fine. Like, like if the Jets, I don't know, if the Jets think that, Jermod, Jermod McCoy is the next Derek Stingley or whatever, and they want to take him at 16, and then they go ahead and they get the receiver at 33. Like, I'm not going to be freaking out. I prefer Lemon Faller to 16, and then it all kind of ends up nice. But it's like, oh well, but what about Corley and Mims? Like we never, and it's like, okay, well, hold on. Then we should just take a receiver at 2. Because even at 16, it's like, okay, Tate, Lemon, Tyson could be gone. Even Cooper, there's a chance there's 4 receivers go. Look at the teams that need receivers. The Giants, the Browns, the Dolphins have nobody at receiver. The Rams are a team that could invest a year ahead of need with like Mekhi Lemon to the Rams. Omar Cooper Jr. I could see to the Rams. So the only receiver we've drafted and been able to have success with is Garrett Wilson, and he was the wide receiver one in that class to me. 1A. So the only time we've been able to have a good receiver is when we took one in the top 10 who was like the wide receiver one in his class. So even at 16, we're going to have to identify and develop wide receiver talent in a way that we have not in decades. So then that's too big of a risk. We have to take one at 2. And he was like, well, no, but the talent has to line up because I think Reese is the better. It's okay, exactly. So just defer that logic to Big 16, right? It's the same thing. Because if we can't take a receiver at 33 who's good, then shit, man, just take one at 2. Because then 16 is too risky as well. Pick 33 is a high ass pick, man. You can't get a receiver. If they can't get a receiver 2 at pick 33, then we need an entire new regime right now. If we don't have confidence that they could do that, we need an entire new regime right now. And you got to look at every draft and every staff and every GM as a new start to me. Because one time, like because we took Elijah Moore, that doesn't. I get it. Like there's scars. We wear scars as Jet fans, but that has no. It's all new to me. Like people brought that up with Membu. They said Becton because he was just an offensive tackle who was like big. Oh, another Becton. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Like it's like the laziest stuff. Whenever someone says like this player, another this player 2.0, like Mims 2.0, like we have the same like Arvell Reese is another Vernon Golston. I'm like, I don't even know, but that doesn't even make any sense because Vernon Golston was like a highly productive full-time edge in college who didn't love football and didn't work out. What does that have to do with Reese? It's like we have the same 7 names that live in our mind, and any player we don't like, we go back to one of those 7 names and say they're that guy 2.0. It's kind of silly. Yeah, you could take a receiver at 33, it could be fine. Now, if they wait all the way till the 4th round, it's like then that's obviously that's a bit different. But I don't think they will. I think they're going to come away with a significant receiver investment. Because they've kind of told us that they're going to. If you look at did Christian Kirk sign too? I didn't even see that. Why bother with wide receiver when trying to fire the coach? I don't know what you mean by that. Um, Garrett Wilson is the best receiver in the division. Yeah, yeah, I would. I don't think anyone would even argue that. Yeah. So, but if you want to trade up for one of those guys, that's what your comment. I didn't even address that part of your comment. I went on a whole tangent. Yeah, that's fine. It depends. Like it depends on who's still on the board because I don't know. Like if Downs and Lemon are there, like you kind of wait and see, or like Vegas are there. You wait and see if like one of your last favorite guys. Like let's say if the Jets have a certain number of guys that are ranked on like the top 10 guys on their board. And it's like, oh, 2 of our top 10 guys are still here. Oh, there's one guy left in our top 10, and it's like pick 11, pick 12. We think there's a drop off in talent. We're gonna go get him. That's fine. I think there is a chance Lemon could be there at 16 because you just have to go one team at a time, and you can easily see why teams would just that's how guys fall. Guys fall because it's like just one team at a time, just maybe needed something else or valued something else. I think Lemon could be there at 16. I think Tate is much. I think Tate is going to be a top 10 pick. Um, I just think that because he could be that ISO X receiver, that teams are going to covet that, and he'll be gone pretty high. Trade up from 2 to 1. Okay, just out of curiosity, what do you think the Raiders' asking price would be for that pick? Because it's probably going to want like the most amount of first round picks you could give up, right? Like 4 first round picks or whatever. So Yeah, well, I don't think maybe wide receiver at 2, who knows? But remember last year with what they did at tackle, like at right tackle, they just brought in like Chukwuesekor um, for like no money, and it's like, okay, I guess you're taking a tackle, right? Because they probably looked at it and they were like, we have whatever Banks, Campbell, Membu all rated high enough. We're just going to get our right tackle at 7. I think that's what the Jets did in 2024 when they took Fashanu. Like they were just going to take one of those tackles, right? Actually, well, no, they tried to trade up for Roma Dunze. Thank goodness, in hindsight, the Falcons denied that trade. I mean, maybe Roma Dunze will be fine, but I'd rather trade back and have Olu than trade up and get Odunze now. All things considered. Yeah, it's historically trading up is not worth it. You really gotta believe. Historically trading up for a non-quarterback. Obviously trading up for quarterbacks is no guarantee, but you understand like the scarcity of that position. But trading up for a non-quarterback, the if you look at who wins that trade, it's very often the team who traded back. Look at trading up for ABT. I know he got hurt, but like you're trading up for a guard. Why? Why are you trading up for a guard? He better be Zach Martin. So you could probably say the same thing for the Jets. Like if you trade up for Sonny Styles or you trade up for one of the receivers, like I would understand it, but it's one of those things where history says you, you're better off having the additional draft capital for the most part. Yeah, the Colts could have the Colts pick could be high. Well, the Jets pick from the Colts could be high. Jet Jacob Rodriguez, yeah, man, Rodriguez at 44 would be amazing. He might be gone before then, but I think I think Rodriguez where you could get him, like CJ Allen, I you keep an open mind, but I think you have to stand put your foot down somewhere. To me, CJ Allen at 16, I cannot see that vision at all. Um I'd much rather have Jacob Rodriguez in the second round, like Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers did a mock draft a little while ago where Sikkema took CJ Allen at 12 to the Cowboys, and I'm like, uh, no, like just no. Malachi Lawrence, that's the edge from Central Florida, right? That's a hot name. A lot of people like Malachi Lawrence. Yeah, there's names in the edge room. Malachi Lawrence, Danny Dennis Sutton. I mean, like maybe some early round 2 guys like TJ Parker, Zion Young. Then you have your DPRs like Cassius, your DPR kind of types like Cassius Howell or Mason Thomas. So there's a lot of different options in the edge room. But if the Jets are going with an edge rusher at 2, I think they probably won't draft another one high. Like maybe they take another one in round 4 or 5. But I don't think they're going to take an edge at 2 and then an edge in the second round. I don't think they will repeat positional picks in the first 4 picks. I don't think they should. I don't think there's a position that they should double dip on in the first 4 picks. Maybe secondary if they love a corner and they want to take a safety, but yeah, Cooper Rush should be fine. Cooper Rush should probably be slightly better than Bailey Zapp, right? If it's Tyson at 16 and Simpson is the board on the board, you get Simpson. I I I'm mentally prepared that the Jets could take Ty Simpson at 16. Um, yeah, it's like saying that nothing matters until you solve quarterback. I understand that, but that only you only solve it if the guy is good. So the argument to take Ty Simpson isn't that you need a quarterback. The argument to take Ty Simpson is that you think he's a franchise quarterback because otherwise you just take Kenny Pickett. Oh, we don't have a quarterback, so let's take Kenny Pickett. I think Ty Simpson is a better prospect than Kenny Pickett was, but that's the Overton window where the chat has to happen. We can't just say, "Well, you have no QB, so take Ty Simpson at 2." Like, okay, if he wasn't in the draft, then should we just take Garrett Nussmeier at 2? Like, the guy has to be worth the pick at the end of the day. I think Ty Simpson is a round 2 prospect, but because of the inflation of the position, he'll get bumped up a half a round to maybe the late round 1. He's not a bum. He's not a scrub. He's got good traits. Ty Simpson is much more toolsy than people give him credit for. Um, he's very aggressive. I like that he attacks tight windows. I like that he makes anticipation throws. I like that his offense asked him to do a lot of Sunday stuff, pre-snap and over the middle work. Obviously, 15 starts. Look at the history of that. A little bit plays a little smaller and was banged up, right? So I think you put all that together, and he's probably like goes similar to where like Jackson Dart went, right? Or maybe a team comes up to the late 20s and jumps the Jets, maybe jumps the Cardinals to take him, right? Which Jets QB 2.0 would Ty Simpson be? Well, people would probably say Zach, but I don't think I think that's just kind of lazy. Um, I don't know who he'd be. Maybe Gino, late guy who's everyone says to be a first rounder, falls to the second round. Pretty talented. I think some people are saying, screw this year. Glenn will ruin the young players and make all this capital worthless, which I think is just Doomer energy. I mean, I could see that if it was a quarterback, like, is Aaron Glenn gonna like ruin Arvell Reese? No. Like, is Aaron Glenn and Carl Dunbar going to ruin Arvell Reese? No. Is Frank Reich gonna ruin Makai Lemon? No. I'm not really worried about that. I'm not really too worried about that. Like, they this year there's nothing assuming they don't draft Ty Simpson, obviously that changes everything. But this year, there's nothing that they're really gonna do that's pivotal in terms of mortgaging the future, right? Like, obviously drafting Sam Darnold, drafting Zach Wilson, trading for Aaron Rodgers, like, those were moves that were, like, are gonna have ripple effects for years. They signed a bunch of dudes to one-year deals, and they're just gonna draft players. They're gonna get some good players. Like they did fine with their relatively high picks last year, like getting Armand Membu and Mason Taylor. It was a perfectly normal draft. Like that's fine. Yeah, maybe there's some guy who's better than Mason Taylor that you could have had, but they also like I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they would have taken Campbell, but thank goodness someone else took Will Campbell, so Armand Membu could be there. But they did fine. They did it fine with their high picks last year. I'm sure they'll do fine with their high picks this year. Um, and then we'll just see what happens. Yeah, Christian Kirk would have been a nice veteran kind of hedge betting signing. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man. Would you rather have Reese Brazel or Tate and J Rod? Well, I don't know because it's hard to say because I don't know how those. I don't know. I'm confused because I don't think you would take Tate at 2, right? Probably Reese and Brazel, I guess. Jets will draft a kicker late. I'm fine spending a 7th round pick on a kicker. I know that most kickers are UDFAs, but like 7th rounder, if they want to take a kicker instead of Zach Kuntz. Once you're like into the picks 200s, then it's dart throw. 3rd round, not a dart throw. 4th round, not a dart throw. Even early 5th, you should try and get like an Isaiah Davis who could be like a running back too, right? Uh, slot corner, to me, slot corner is one of the best values you can get because you could, if you're the Jets at pick 44, you could potentially take the first slot corner off the board. It's a pick 44. You take D'Angelo Pons. Um, he's awesome and he's an immediate starter. It's like how many other positions can or you can take like the 12th edge, right? Draft a kicker at 16. That's what I'm saying. Tate, Mesidor, Rodriguez, Halsey. Dylan, you've just done too many mock drafts where now you're like you have Mel Kiper brain and you're trying to think of different scenarios. So I haven't done a mock draft. I'm withdrawing. I haven't done a mock draft in like 10 days. I'm starting to shake because my last mock draft, I drafted Ruben Bain at 2 and I traded up for Sonny Styles. And I didn't know when I uploaded it. So I just let the comments ride. And I'm like, let me give this 24 hours and then I'll check the damage. People are always respectful though on YouTube. If I want to be disrespected, I'll go to Twitter. But on YouTube, people are chill about it. They're just like, this is terrible. Like, why would you do this to us? Why would you make me watch this? A lot of people did watch it though. And it was funny though, too, because it was like the like percentage was like 100%. Like hardly anyone disliked it. But all the comments were like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. But we'll like it because we appreciate you making videos. But please never do this again. Yeah, I don't think the Jets would do that. Actually, you know what? No, you know what my galaxy brain draft is, Dylan? You take Reese at 2, and then you trade up for Bane. And then you never score any points again, I guess. But then you take a receiver at 33. You trade 44 and 16 to go up and get Bane at like 9. And then you have one of the best front sevens in football, and you get your wide receiver 2 at 33. And you have 6 other draft picks to get your whatever, your depth and all that. I'm just saying. Then on passing downs, you could have like McDonald and Reese at edge, and then maybe like you could have like Osai and Bain standing up over the B gaps, like Briggs at nose. It's your NASCAR package. And you go like 6, you win like 6 games, or whatever. But I don't know. That'll be my next. I'll have to stop saying Ruben Bain at 2 because that is delusional now. But what I can transition to is now I'm just going to start saying trade up for Ruben Bain and get Arvell Reese. That way, the Arvell Reese bros can't even get mad at me. It's like, no, I like him. I want Bain too. Now what? Now what? Oh, we need a receiver. Yeah, you know what? Trade up again to like 25 and get your receiver. Get your receiver. How about that? And then trade next year's first and then take Ty Simpson. There you go. How about that? Now nobody complain. We did all the things that we said we've done. But yeah, Tate, Mesidor, Rodriguez, Halsey. Honestly, it's not the craziest thing you said. Rodriguez and Halsey is a nice second round. Yeah, Tyson, Brock Purdy, Ty Simpson, Brock Purdy. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. I think Kurt Warner said that. It's funny, like Dan Orlovsky today was like, this Ty Simpson guy. I'm like, Dan, how are you just now having an opinion on Ty Simpson? Are you like a full-time quarterback analyst? And it's like a month before the draft, and he's like, you know what? Checked out this kid from Alabama. His name is Ty Simpson. It's like, yeah, no shit, Dan. Like it's the QB2 in the draft. What are you talking about? Doomers need to be called out and banned from enjoying any future wins. Okay, but what constitutes a doomer? I think we'd have to have a pretty strict, like, ban from enjoying wins. We have to have a pretty strict. You'd have to be pretty bad. Like you'd have to be egregiously dooming. Um, to be banned from enjoying future wins. How could you even ensure that they weren't enjoying it? How do you enforce this? Yeah, top 100 picks should be starters. I think you're perfectly I think that's perfectly reasonable. He must not go on Reddit. I don't interact or comment on Reddit. I do go to Reddit to get like I'll get answers to specific questions. Not even like football. I'll go to Reddit for like, hey, my shoulder blade hurts. What should I do? And then someone on Reddit will be like, I got you, bro. Buy a lacrosse ball, lay on your back, like massage into your shoulder blade. And that's what I use Reddit for. Um, Reddit for football, I couldn't imagine a worse experience than going to Reddit to hear people talk about football opinions. That's probably like Twitter, but 10 times worse. Yeah, Reddit is just like that phase, that last, like the message board type of internet. It's like the last man standing for that type of like medium. Sadiq at 16. I don't know how to. I still don't have a response to Sadiq at 16. I'm just like, okay, I don't know. It's like when someone tells me they want Sadiq at 16, it's like they're telling me that it's going to be 55 degrees tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I don't know. Sure, fine. I'll put on a hoodie. It's going to be okay. Yeah, I'd be surprised, but I'd keep an open mind. I'd probably still prefer receiver to be honest, but the Jets will be a significantly better team this season. Oh, yeah, I mean they're going to have to be, right? Because even if like it's I don't know. It's one of those things where people freak out when you say this. Not anymore. Not anymore because last year is so in the past, but like during last season when they were doing the mini tank, people would freak out like they're not tanking. It's an excuse. They suck. And it's like, dude, we get that they're bad. They were trying to win. When they were trying to win, they were 1-7 or whatever they were. I understand that. But a lot of the historically bad stuff in terms of like DVOA point differential, so much of that, like the skills were really tilted because the last month of the season they were playing legitimate fourth stringers. Like that did happen. So they're obviously not going to do that. So that alone, like if you're not quitting for basically a quarter of the season, that alone obviously is going to make a big impact. And then of course, they have um a bunch of new starters. PFF now has Styles ahead of Reese. Mm, yeah, what's up with the PFF big board? Let's see what Trevor Sikkema's cooking up. Where's he got Omar Cooper Jr. these days? I saw Connor Rogers ranked Omar Cooper Jr. ahead of Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon, not a top 20 player for Connor Rogers. That was interesting. What's the rankings? Um, it's so to me, it still looks like 1 Mendoza, 2 Reese, 3 Love, 4 Styles, 5 Bane. Um, Bane was 2 at some point, so they dropped him down. So I think Arvell Reese, if you said that you can't play him at edge, if the NFL made a new rule and they were like, Arvell Reese has to play off ball linebacker full time, I still think he would be he'd be a first round pick, right? So, but I think him being the consensus top 5 pick is due to the fact that you could play him at edge quite a bit, right? I think just as an off ball linebacker, just as an off ball linebacker, um, Styles is a better prospect, but it's not crazy better. Like Reese is a much better run defender than Styles to me. I don't know if much better. Styles is definitely, I would say Styles is definitely demonstrated much. You'd be much more confident in Styles' coverage abilities as an off-ball linebacker than Reese, because Reese just wasn't asked to do it. Reese was just asked to be, especially the back like 4 or 5 games of the season where his production kind of fell off. I think he got all of his sacks and like all of his pressures in the first 2/3 of the season because Matt Patricia just had him in the sitting in the chair, man. Matt Patricia just had him quarterback spying. Like he would just a lot of times he would just literally stand in the A gap and then like wave his hands like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, right? Just like that's what they had him do. Obviously, Matt Patricia, he cooked up that defense, man. That defense is well coached. That defense, obviously they made it very far. So that's how he decided to use Robert Reese the best. But it definitely clouded the ability to evaluate him a lot. I think Reese athletically, like his size and athletic profile lend itself to the off-ball linebacker position the most. I think if someone if you're gonna ask me if you could just coach him from scratch right now, what position would he likely end up being better at? I would say off-ball linebacker, but obviously, even if he could be 80% as good at edge as he would be at off-ball linebacker, it's more impactful. So you're gonna chase that more impactful role. But yeah, I mean, Reese, it's definitely a lot of projection. Um I think that why teams are probably comfortable doing it is because he's so stupid strong that you're like, we're gonna be able to stick him at outside linebacker and he's gonna be able to set the edge. He'll be able to just condense holes and not seed an inch. Like so much of running plays is where you have a guard climb to the second level and they pop a linebacker back. And that's how you have those little alleys and those cutback lanes because obviously you're staggering the defense. Reese will close and he'll get he plays with such good leverage, like much more than Styles. Like Reese doesn't go to the ground. There's reps where Styles will get put on his ass by an offensive lineman. Not a ton, like he's got good overall film. No Reese, if Arbo Reese is on the ground, it's because he took you there. Like he just never gets run to the ground. It's insane. He plays with such good body control, such good leverage against the run. He'll get his hands on the inside of a guard's chest and just he will not move. Like his hands are dynamite. His stopping power is crazy. So I think that when you see that, you're like, okay, that's a really good foundation to work with. And then we're going to try and teach him how to rush the passer. Because the pass rush reps with Reese, dude, it's long arm. He had like one ghost move, like a cross chop now and then, but he has no finesse bag right now because he just hasn't been asked to do it. He got his pressures and sacks blitzing from off the ball and from just long arming guys with power. Um, I really wish we got to see a bigger sample size of him threatening the outside shoulder because there just wasn't examples of that. So we'll see how it goes. But I think with Reese, the idea is you could look at if you had to if it fails at edge and you have to play him at off ball linebacker and maybe you get an elite off ball linebacker, like you could see that as the floor, but I don't know. I don't know about his coverage as an off ball linebacker, as a middle backer. Like if you want to ask him to do like, peel into a flat, uh carry a tight end up to depth if teams want to match up hunt and get weird. He's athletic enough; he could do some things. But I thought his zone coverage drops like him and Styles. It was not close. Styles is much better at that. But the run defense, like Reese going sideline to sideline, his stop and start speed. There's plays with Reese where there was I think the first game I watched of him. I think it was Illinois. Where he made a play on a screen pass where if you screenshot like where he was when the receiver caught this tunnel screen and then like jump to the next frame of him making the tackle, it's like holy shit, like how many guys can do that, right? So I think him in the screen game and the run game is such a good foundational starting point to go from that you want to build the pass rush off of there, but it still is at pick 2. It's very risky, and I know it's like he's already a Jet, so it's like, yeah, of course, Reese, stud, Parsons. Assuming he's gonna be an awesome pass rusher, I think it's still a pretty big leap of faith, but I understand that the Jets are gonna do it because like, the other guys that you would try to get to be game wreckers, like Ruben Bain, who I love, but Ruben Bain, like, a lot of the good edge rushers in the NFL are longer and more athletic than him. There's definitely a world at which Ruben Bain just becomes Carl Lawson because he doesn't have that. He gets a ton of pressures, but has 7 or 8 sacks a year and can't finish as well. Like that's a reality with Bain. David Bailey, he's just an arc runner. He's a speed arc running rusher who has limitations against the run defense. So I think because those other two guys are also have significant flaws, you might just say F it and bet on Reese, and that's probably what they're going to do. So I understand it. Do you see us taking a big leap this year? I think I don't know, is 3 wins to 7 wins a big leap? It kinda is. Kinda is, honestly, if you're more than doubling your win total. Will Minka be a bust like Dalvin Smith and Reddick? I don't think so because Dalvin Cook at running back, like, dude, running backs, what was he, 27, 28? That's kind of the end for a running back. Tyron Smith Tyron Smith was a pretty surprising one because he was pretty good the year before. Reddick, obviously, he didn't play. Like if Reddick just played and stayed in shape, like he probably would have been pretty good for the Jets, right? So I don't think so. Now it's really about the second year with him. Like this year, Minka will be good. Demario Davis will be good. Will they be washed their second year or third year with Minka? It could happen, but I think Minka will be good this year. When you want Bain at 16, that's just mean. That's just hurtful. We have the charts. Yeah, I forgot even what the title of the stream was. Yeah, the Jets have won the offseason. That's what we've done. Reddit is good. Yeah, Reddit is good for home improvement. I must be behind in the chat. Reddit is good for home improvement. If you need to solve it, if you need to fix your car, stuff like car stuff, I'll go to Reddit. Um, Reddit, and yeah, knows things. Back in the day, YouTube I liked when YouTube had more videos that were just like a dude holding a phone, like showing you how to solve a problem. But now it's like now to get any views on YouTube, you have to have like a TV studio type of production. But YouTube used to be better, used to be good for that. But Reddit is fine for that. Who could legit fall to the second round? I mean, who is the best player who could be there at 33? I don't know. Is McCoy like this year's Will Johnson? Does McCoy's medicals make him go to the second round? That franchise guy is even higher on Cooper. He has him as his wide receiver too. Yeah, Marcus is great. Even so, like at least he's showing you like he'll literally like to me it's like the draft. I get you have to be right a certain percentage of time to for me to like continue to watch your draft. Obviously, if you're just like, oh my god, every opinion you have ages to be trash, but it's not even about that to me. Like if you're showing me film and you're saying this is why I like this guy, this is why I don't. Here's my charted attributes of all this guy's strengths and weaknesses that I have. It's like okay, that's most people who give an opinion on the draft shot on the internet have not even like the people who haven't even watched. There's like the flat earther contingency of Jets Twitter who saw one stat about David Bailey in like January and just tweet about David Bailey every day. And maybe he's awesome, but not because that one stat you saw. So to me, it's like if you can show your evidence for your opinions and give a well thought out argument, like that's kind of what I look for in a draft analyst. Because a lot of these, even the big names like Daniel Jeremiah, who's awesome. Like Daniel Jeremiah, Daniel Jeremiah is very good for being tapped into teams and what they're going to do. But you'll read his mock draft and it'll say like the Jets need a defensive guy who could do a thing or two things. Although Reese has been known to do two or even three things sometimes, so he makes sense for the Jets. And it's like, what did you learn about Arvell Reese? Like really, what did you learn about Arvell Reese that you didn't know before by reading Dan Jeremiah's nothing or his top 50? Nothing. What if you look at the write ups of like his top 50 big board of like the 13th guy and the 46th guy, they have the same write up. How do you know what's different? So that's why I think somebody like that franchise guy, it's like this is actually I'm actually learning something about these players. You know who he has his number one player in the draft? Ruben Bain, but we already knew that. We already knew that. Picks based on vibes and swag, but that's the beauty of the draft is you could 100% be right. Like I could just fire off a tweet like whatever from the bathroom at work on my lunch break and it could age to be a better opinion than Daniel Jeremiah, right? That's the beauty of the draft. But yeah, I think you got to be able to give your reasons. You know who's also great is James Foster. I wish he made more. I'll actually, I'll plug his draft guide real quick. I don't think he would give a crap if I showed it on the screen for 2 seconds, like free advertisement, right? James Foster is awesome. I wish he made more YouTube videos. Um, but his draft guide, if nothing else, it's so aesthetically pleasing. Look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. Let's see. If you search like James, I think it's jamesfosterdraft.com. Yeah, here it is. Mm, This is a cool ass draft guide because obviously there's like the big board. Sonny Styles is his number one player. So if you like click, will it still show that on StreamYard? Yeah. So if you click, it has like all the strengths and weaknesses, athleticism scores, like the consensus rankings, the ratings of the different attributes, like in Madden. And then he's got like I won't click on the film tab because I don't want to get copyrighted for showing film. But if you click on the film, it's got like film of all of what he's showing. So this is a cool ass draft guide. That's James Foster. That's really cool. People crap on Walter Football, but I found their mock drafts and scouting reports good. So yeah, I think Walter Football just has like a website that looks like it was made in like 1999. But I remember they were one of the first ones. They were one of the first ones who was doing like prospect rankings. Um, and I think Walter Football, you have to pay money if you want to be able to click on a player without getting like like an actual salesman will like show up to ring your doorbell and like try and sell you stuff. Like that's how bad their ads are. Yeah, Lemon's a scrappy blocking receiver. Surratt will be a better receiver than Cooper. Well, they're very different. I think that, yeah, I mean, of course it could happen. Like, who knows? Um, Surratt, he's to me a guy who lived on so much contested catches. I think you have to be like, he just he pulled down less than 50% of his contested catches this year. So if you're going to live on contested catches, you got to be really, really good at them. So he's kind of slow, but he has a ton of his career production is crazy. Like he has in terms of like total yards, he laps the whole field. Obviously he scored a bunch of touchdowns last year too. I think Surratt is more of like a guy you take at 44, um, who will probably come in and almost be like a veteran right away, right? Where you're not taking like because typically you have those mid second round receivers like Mims, who it's like, oh, he's 6'3", he runs this 40 time, but they don't know how to play yet. And you're kind of trying to mold them into that. Whereas Surratt, it's like, you know what? He doesn't have a high ceiling, probably, but he's going to come in and be like a professional high end three, low end two, like right in training camp. Where especially if you're a team, like if the Jets do, like let's say they take Ty Simpson, right? At 16, whatever. And you have Garrett Wilson's your one, and AD Mitchell is your kind of explosive but high variance receiver. And you have Surratt in there who's just like a pro. I could see the appeal to him, but I don't think in the first round for Surratt. I think you need a little bit more explosive athlete. Surratt is Jericho Cotchery. Honestly, Jeremy Bernard kind of reminds you of Cotchery, to be honest. Reese and Simpson in the first. Yeah. I've kind of just put it in my mind that they're going to take a quarterback next year. Like just good or bad. Like I've kind of just that's where I'm at. My mentality is with how they're going to try and build this team. Could be wrong. I just don't think they're going to take Ty Simpson. I think he's there at 16 and they don't take him. That's my prediction. Right, wrong, and different. That's what I guess they will do. I think he will be there at 16 and they will not take him. And they will not draft a quarterback with one of their first four picks. Geno's touchdown interception ratio. I mean, I don't know. I would take like 22 touchdowns, 16 picks. You know, uh, I think that's reasonable. But I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you wanted a thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. And go Jets.